Kazakhstan, a country blessed with stunning natural beauty, deep cultural traditions, and centuries of history. 4 times the size of Texas, Kazakhstan, located on the fabled Silk Road, stretches from the Caspian Sea to China, linking Europe and Asia. The history of the new Kazakhstan started when it became independent on December 16, 1991. In the 15 years since then, Kazakhstan, under the remarkable leadership of President Nursultan Nazarbayev, has turned from one of the worst-off fragments of the fallen Soviet Empire into an economically strong and dynamically developing democratic country. Through successful market and political reforms, Kazakhstan has become one of the fastest-growing economies in the world, a recognized leader in Central Asia, and a respected and reliable partner within the international community. Today, Kazakhstan exports more than 1 million barrels of oil each day. As new giant fields holding reserves of more than 100 billion barrels are developed, Kazakhstan will export more than 3 million barrels daily by 2015, becoming one of the world's leading exporters. Today's Kazakhstan is not only a major oil, industrial, and agricultural economy, it is also a country developing new technologies, which has already sent its first satellite into space. But 15 years ago, Kazakhstan's future did not look as bright. Here at the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site, Moscow conducted more than 450 nuclear tests during 4 decades. The tests ruined the lives of more than 1.5 million innocent people and irradiated vast areas of once fertile land. In August 1991, President Nazarbayev, relying on popular support while defying threats from the Kremlin, made a courageous decision and shut down the world's second-largest test site at Semipalatinsk by presidential decree. After the Soviet Union's collapse, Kazakhstan inherited the world's 4th-largest nuclear arsenal. It included 1,400 nuclear warheads and was larger than the arsenals of Great Britain, France, and China combined. Despite urgings from so-called well-wishers from abroad who offered huge financial incentives in return for Kazakhstan's becoming the first Muslim nuclear power, Kazakhstan voluntarily renounced its lethal arsenal. This bold move of President Nazarbayev and his continuing leadership have made an outstanding contribution to global nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. In cooperation with the United States under the Non-Lugar program, Kazakhstan rid itself of all nuclear weapons and their infrastructure. Both the United States Senate and House of Representatives have called Kazakhstan's cooperation with the U.S. in this area a model for such efforts by other countries.
I also want to thank you again for the work that we did together and for your decision to decommission Kazakhstan's nuclear arsenal. It may seem, in retrospect, to be an easy decision. At the time, it was not easy, nor was it clear that it was going to happen here and in Belarus, Ukraine, and elsewhere. And your leadership made the world a safer place. And after the recent rise of terrorism, it provided fewer opportunities for terrorists to steal nuclear materials. So I thank you, and the last few years have only proved the wisdom of the decision you made in the early 90s.
Committed to non-proliferation and global security, and having established peaceful international relations ensuring favorable conditions for its economic growth, Kazakhstan has proven that it has gained, not lost, from renouncing nuclear weapons.
We believe the steps we took in the past decade became yet another considerable contribution to preserving stability and security in the world. Kazakhstan stands by our historic non-nuclear weapons choice and calls on other countries to follow us.
Kazakhstan's contribution to building a safer world has not been limited to nuclear disarmament. At the initiative of President Nazarbayev, Kazakhstan created and continues to host the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, a unique regional security organization with 18 member countries, representing a total population of more than 3 billion people, more than half of the world's population, and 1/3 of the global economy. This grouping brings important contributions to strengthening peace and stability in the world. The late Pope John Paul II called Kazakhstan an example of harmony between different religions and nationalities. Kazakhstan has convened congresses of leaders of world and traditional religions, creating valuable forums for reducing tension and promoting dialogue of civilizations. The development of an independent Kazakhstan is directly linked to the support of the United States of America.
I'm proud that when I was president in 1992, the United States became the first country to recognize the independence of Kazakhstan and to establish diplomatic relations with it. The United States supports Kazakhstan's independence and believes that its security is vitally important for stability in Europe and Asia. I well remember the historic occasion in May 1992 when I welcomed President Nazarbayev to the White House, the first ever visit of a head of state from an independent Kazakhstan. The discussions we had that day have led to a deepening of the relations between our two countries. I commend President Nazarbayev for the progress that Kazakhstan has made in its short time as an independent country.
During their meeting in 2001, Presidents Nursultan Nazarbayev and George W. Bush announced a strategic partnership between their two nations. Since that time, the partnership, encompassing non-proliferation, the war on terrorism, energy, and building democracy in a critical region, has expanded significantly. Kazakhstan has supported the United States and Russia in the global initiative to combat nuclear terrorism. Kazakhstan became one of the very few Muslim-majority countries to send troops to Iraq, and remains committed to its obligations in bringing peace to that nation. Kazakhstan and the United States work together to stabilize Afghanistan as they promote the vision of a greater Central Asia. As noted by President George W. Bush, quote, "The United States views Kazakhstan as a strategic partner in Central Asia and values your strong support for our efforts to bring democracy to Iraq and Afghanistan. We appreciate the closer cooperation in combating terrorism and want to expand this cooperation." President Bush also noted that the stability and prosperity Kazakhstan enjoys stand as a model for other countries in Central Asia, and expressed firm interest in developing cooperation and ensuring peace, stability, and prosperity in this complex region. Kazakhstan and the United States are strong partners, sharing common values of freedom, democracy, and entrepreneurship. Together, the two countries face new challenges and work for peace and prosperity. In the future, this cooperation will only strengthen. Kazakhstan looks forward to the future with optimism, believing its commitment to nuclear disarmament, experience with peaceful coexistence of so many different nationalities and religions, and peaceful international cooperation will continue to build a safer and more prosperous world.